Hello everyone. In this next video, I think the main theme will be taking advantage of disorganization in your targets, perhaps their lack of preparation or complacency and things like that. So to set the fight up, this happens in IPay, in system in Veil of the Silent. Few jumps in. It's basically what's happening is there's under 20 people, mixed ships. It has like 7 bombers, a couple max, recons, 1 dreadnought, and a few other random ships. And what they're doing is they're sieging I think an iHub in the system, trying to take it down and reclaim sovereignty for themselves or something like that. Now, we scout these guys maybe 40 minutes before we actually decide to engage them. We see these guys and we see another couple of gangs hanging around in different locations, and we decide to leave these guys alone, let them shoot the iHub. We figure it'll take them pretty long while before they can get it down with the gang composition that they have, so we figure we'll just come back to them later, and we go and have some other fights and then eventually come back to this. Now what this does, it's 40 minutes have passed, these guys have been shooting structure for a fairly long time. Nothing's really going on, so I guess over time they're just going to become complacent and just sit there. Some of them might semi-AFK. They won't be as attentive as they might be if it was them getting ready to engage with all of their people at once. So they're going to be disorganized, and they might not even all be there, and it's something that you can really take advantage of with a smaller group, and perhaps use that element of surprise and their lack of coordination to overcome the numbers advantages they might have, and engage and be successful with fewer numbers. So what we end up going in with are, we have 2 drakes, 2 tengus, a scimitar, and a saber. The reason we have that is the saber, we're not sure how they're going to react exactly. We're not sure how awake they are, if they're all there or not, and if they're all going to run right away, if they're all going to engage us right away. We can't really tell, right? So we have the saber. We intend to get a warp in on one of their max and drop a bubble on it right away, and that's just sort of just in case they're all sort of really skittish and ready to warp out at the moment anything changes in local, if it's that kind of structure shooting gang. So the saber can tackle things much more quickly, or get initial tackle much more quickly if it lands on 0 than anything else. It doesn't have to lock anything. All it does is lands, pops bubble, whatever is in the bubble can't warp immediately. Nothing. You don't have to lock targets or apply point or any of that, and it can just sort of leave right after. So that's why we had the saber. The tengus, fairly decent ships, hard to kill, quite a good amount of buffer. We felt we'd send them in first. Scimitar, just in case it became a fight. The buffer we had on our ships and the ships that they had, the fight wouldn't have lasted too long. We would have had it to disengage very quickly if they ended up being actually quite organized and fought and wanted to fight us. Our buffer on the tengus and the drakes wouldn't last too long, and it would force us to disengage much more quickly than we would have liked. So that's why we have the scimitar. Tengus and drakes, fairly self-explanatory, pretty decent damage projection, decent tackle, and I guess in the tengus, like I mentioned, good DHP. So setting up this fight, initiating engagements is a huge part, and a lot of times engagements are decided upon how they're initiated by the opposing sides. So for us, what we are thinking is we're going to send the saber in first along with the tengu. Saber is going to initially get a bubble on Mac, just to allow the tengu to lock and point it in time in case they're going to warp right away, and then the saber just does his own thing, kills bombers, burns out, gets safe, and maybe comes back and bubbles something else, who knows, but that's his only real job, just to get an initial bubble off and allow the tengu to get point. As the tengu and the saber warp in, we have a scimitar who's already sort of staggered warp behind them, so he lands a little bit after them. He doesn't get primaried right away. You see a Saber and Tengu first, they shoot them instead of our Simi. Lets them stay on grid a little bit longer before they decide to switch to him. And then after that, we just bring everything else in and see what we can do. Now, the primary thing we want to do is just kill this mech, and then we're going to see where it goes from there. However, we have to also be prepared for the case that if they do fight, what are we going to do? And in that case, the biggest threat for us, if they do decide to engage, is the curse. None of us have cat boosters. We're all basically relying on large capacitors and passive tanks, and in the Scimitar cap regen, and the curse can sort of ruin our plans pretty significantly if it's flown well. So that's our primary target going in. With us not sure how they're going to react, we have to assume that they're going to take the fight. So we try to get tackle on the max and go for the curse to begin with, and then after that it's just this case of reacting to the fight. Past that, we don't really have a plan, but we're just gonna react to what they decide to do. So as the fraps start, the Saber warps in with the Tengu, bubble goes up, and you'll notice the Tengu mentions that there's a Moro, so it wasn't something that we had picked up. It must have just brought it in to make the structure go down faster. But I'm really not there, and so we were just sort of had the plan in mind, and we were just stuck with our plan just to hold the max down and go for the curse. And perhaps we could have pointed the Moros instead, and then really forced them to stay and commit, as opposed to just sort of if we just point the max, or it's more likely that they'll just run, as opposed to if we point the cap ship, they'll probably try to save that, because it's likely that they can save it. Has lots of VHP and it'll take us a long time to kill. Anyway, we point the mech and the Moros Sinos out while we primary the curse. Curse goes down really quickly, and after that it doesn't seem like they're running. The Macs don't seem like they're doing too much damage to us. Maybe one's AFK, one's just sort of running away from the fight. They're sort of really disorganized at the moment. It's sort of the toss-up for them, I think, between running and engaging, and I'm not sure if they are all sort of on the same page as far as what to do. And I guess going back to how we initiated the fight, we didn't send everyone in right away. If we had sent everyone in right away, there's a possibility that they may have all sort of been, oh, there's 6 ships here, let's fail, regroup, and maybe fight them, or just run away. If you just send in 1 or 2 ships at a time, then they say, oh, there's just a Tengu and a Saber landed, that's fine, we'll gank it, we have like almost 20 people, let's just kill it quickly, as opposed to sending everything in and then scaring them. So it's, I guess, something to think about when you're trying to start a fight. So we have the Mac pointed and we're killing the curse, and since they don't immediately run, bombers are going to be a huge problem, because we're in BC hulls and we have shield extenders, pretty big signatures. So we try to go for bombers, and along with bombers, the next easiest to kill threat would be the tornado. So it's next primary from here on out. After these bombers, kill a couple bombers, then go for a tornado, and it's sort of more or less all of us managing ourselves. By the way, the footage is from a Tengu in our gang. I'm in a Drake myself. Bombers go down. We're trying to hold point on this Mac. Our Tengu unfortunately bumps straight into the structure and then just loses his movement and almost loses the Mac, but our second Tengu catches up to it. And right now they've all bailed, so they're in the process of bailing. We're right now main concern is to lock this Mac down, at least get this one Mac, which is what we came for, and see what else we can lock down. And we're trying to go for high value targets. The other Mac is way too far for any of us to do anything about. So I go for the Sleipnir. I just sit on top of him with 2 webs, and it's fine. And our other Drake burns for a Zealot and tackles it, while our Tengus burn for the Smack and lock it down with their webs and kill it. So right now we're all split up, which is in this case totally fine, because it's more us in gank mode. They're not really engaging, or they're not fighting back in any real sense. So we're just sort of cleaning up and killing what we can. After the Mac goes down, we go for the Zealot and then the Sleipnir afterwards, and it's pretty straightforward from here on out. But the main important part of this engagement was basically how we set it up, and us taking advantage of perhaps then sitting in space shooting a structure for a really long time, resulting in them being maybe complacent and not paying as much attention as they might have been if it was sort of, I don't know, a Roman gang moving through and everyone ready for a fight. Where in this case they weren't really ready. There wasn't any sort of cohesive plan, it didn't seem, from their side as far as what to do. Some of them were fighting back, some weren't, and it allowed us to really take advantage of it, because on our side we had a plan, we knew exactly what we were going to do, and we just went in and executed, and we knew we had like full intel on them, and they didn't really know anything about us and what was going on, so we were able to surprise them. And the way we initiated the fight as well is also important, because it sort of kept them there long enough for all of us to get there and do our thing. And in the end, we kill about 8 ships, and we don't lose anything. Or actually, sorry, rather, we killed 7 ships. Tornado, Manticore, Nemesis, Curse, Zealot, Sleipnir, and the Mac. So, pretty good, warping in and taking advantage of enemy disorganization.